You know, what's great about both of you, and I'm going to ask both of you to talk about this, is this idea of looking into yourself and discovering a sort of a new person in a way, that you can kind of address these, or a strength, I guess, is what it is. And these characters in your books are doing that. Could you talk a little bit about that process, Vanessa? You had, I mean, it is a powerful, powerful thing, isn't it?
I think it's really about, and I've experienced this in my own life too, where it's really just coming to grips, not necessarily with like a new person, but who you actually are, tapping into the parts of yourself that, and like becoming comfortable with who you are. So what the characters in my books and what my own journey has been also is a lot of self-reflection, kind of working out, okay, why am I in this situation? Who am I really? What can I do to feel more confident in who I am and what I have to offer and what I want out of life? So it's more about not necessarily, recreating yourself, but realizing yourself, really identifying who you actually are and what you want, what your strengths are, maybe where your weaknesses are and how you can kind of overcome them. And really acknowledging maybe some of the mistakes that you've made in the past or things that you would have done differently had you known. And upon realizing that, being able to bring yourself out of it and really turn things around. So it's a lot of self-reflection and self-actualization, really coming to terms with who you are inside.
And this is part of the process of writing too, isn't it? Because you're addressing those different facets of yourself when you're creating these characters. And I mean, do one of you want to address that character development?
Sure. Look, for me, writing, well, here's something that I wrote that goes back to the original, one of the questions is, I wrote this, I get a lot of my answers when I'm outdoors. And I have one of them in my preface is, your truth always lies within. It's up to you to find it. Only you can do that. And it takes a lot of strength, it takes time, but the answers are always in your heart. And I think too, as a human, it's what Melody said, I think it's also important as humans, we all make mistakes, we all make errors. And it's also important for me to acknowledge my human mistakes, my errors, and that we all are human. And I think growing, it's a matter of not doing the same mistake again. And that's how, as an individual, to evolve is to not repeat the same thing. Maybe 2 or 3 times, but after that, it's like, you gotta go on a different path. So I think for me, I'm 63, so I really, to evolve, I'm constantly evolving. I will be evolving. And I think I'm not the same person I was several years ago. So it's just so interesting how right now I'm in a very different place. I'm more reflective. I see things just very differently. And some of it's the world situation, and some of it's COVID, and some of it's just my own spirituality. And I think, like in the book, there's another woman that owns the card shop where Jennifer works, who they befriend each other. Jennifer finds out that this woman had trauma growing up too. So I purposely have her in the book because when I want to show is that what works for one person, I call it the toolkit, works differently for another. So whatever someone's strength is, maybe someone's weakness, or whatever, how someone, for me, I love being outdoors. For someone else, it may be bowling, so whatever your passion is, go with that and really let that be part of your life. And I think you really got to listen to yourself. And I think people don't listen to themselves enough in terms of, because that's really where the answers are. And the answers are different depending on how old you are.
That's very true. It's very true.
And I
Yeah.
just want to add to that. I'm going to explain a little bit about my writing process. And it kind of goes into what we were talking about. So I am a total pantser. And by that, what I mean is I don't outline my books. I go by the seat of my pants. I fly by the seat of my pants. So I actually let my characters kind of reveal themselves as I go. So what I find is as I'm writing, and I'm finding this especially with the novel that I'm working on now, is that like there will be little things maybe in my own experience where I'm like, oh, this kind of strikes a chord with me. Maybe this character can be in a similar situation or have a similar idea or concept. But then it's like, as I'm writing, I'm like, but that character thinks and feels completely differently than I do. So like Susan was saying, like each character takes the same experience or even the same idea and kind of runs with it differently because everybody's got their own personality traits, or you've got your own experiences, your own reasons for being in that spot. So I kind of see where my characters take me and I kind of work through their own thought processes as they go, as they're realizing more about themselves and growing as people and tapping into their experiences so that they can grow and learn where they want to be and all of that. So it's a lot of reflection, but it's like I'm kind of reflecting for my characters through my characters. And so it ends up being an interesting process. But I kind of just let them, take me wherever they want to go. They kind of take on a life of their own.
I like that it's sort of a playful too, isn't it? It's like you're playing with these ideas that playing with perspectives, right? Of that
Yeah.
particular character. Yeah. Anything else anyone wants to add? We are recording this, and this is an interesting part of it. Go ahead,
One of the
Susan.
things that I came up with today, because I was looking over the questions you thought that you may ask us, and I was just doing I do my writing longhand. I'm old school. So I do writing longhand, and then I walk away from an editor. But it was about the process of writing and why I write. And I realized it's because it's a very intimate experience, writing. It's like no one can see it. No one can read it. No one needs to read it. It's very private. And the paper and pen isn't going to judge me. I'm just writing the thoughts down. I mean, it's just very freeing. And if I don't like it, tough, then I can just rewrite. But it's a very intimate, freeing way of expression because I'm just putting words on paper and it's very organic. And if it works one day, fine. If it works 2 days, fine. Then it doesn't. It's just that kind of ebb and flow. And there's not too much in life that you can have that lovely interaction with. And like, no one's going to talk back to you or the dog's not going to bark or, whatever. It's very, very captivating.
It
It's just
sounds to me
very
that you enjoy it too. I mean,
Yes.
you enjoy it. And
Mhm.
Vanessa, do you enjoy writing? I mean, some people do not, even though they're writers.
That's a loaded question. I have a love-hate relationship with writing. It's one of those things where I've always felt kind of compelled to do. I feel like it's just part of me, and I feel like I should do it because it's like I'm supposed to be writing. So I kind of, when it's flowing well and when I get ideas and I get excited about stuff, yeah, I love it. But then when I'm kind of like, when it's kind of, it's interesting, Susan, you say like nobody's judging you, but sometimes I feel like my writing is judging me. It's like, come back to me, come back to me. It's like, you want to be completed, but it's like, I don't feel like it, but it's like, oh, I know you do. It's like, this character wants some resolution here. You got to do something about that. And so it can be kind of a push and pull. Sometimes I'm really into it. And sometimes I'm just like, nah, I'm not feeling it. So it goes back and forth. It depends on my mood.
And Susan, you too? You
Oh,
recognize
I
that?
mean, Right. I mean, this is like, I'm in a good writing flow phase. So you could ask me in a month and it would be, similar to that. It is, it's almost, there is a love-hate relationship. It's a push-pull. And when it goes well, it's flowing. But when it doesn't, I think I've just learned to accept. I think what it is, I'm much more accepting of the writing process. That has taken me a really long time. The writing process is not always going to be flowing. So I've accepted it. And what I do is I just say, you need to, and this is from experience. And I just said, you need to walk away and go back to it. Before, I would just begrudgingly hold that pen and keep writing and writing. And I don't do that anymore. So I've evolved as being accepting of the process, and the creativity is going to be, sometimes it's like a light switch. It will come on and then off. And then sometimes it's off for a few days and longer than I like. But I think the more accepting I am of the writing and the creativity, the more it will be easier for me.
Mm. That's fascinating. You guys, we're coming to the end of our hour, and I'm going to turn off the recording and let the other people participate if they wish. So thank you both